Testing, testing. Hello. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said testing, testing right there when I clicked the go live button.
Testing, testing. Hello. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said testing, testing right there.
I am going to get a feedback loop. Sorry about that. It's like a well-oiled machine here. Hold on a second. System preferences, output. Okay. Let's see if this works. Alrighty. Like a well-oiled machine. Sorry about that. All right. Greetings, fellow Earthlings. This is Flat Earth Civil Discourse. I believe it's episode 7, if I'm counting correctly. Hello, Factard, Sean, Rob. Thank you so much for joining me. So no scheduled guest. If anybody wants to come in, if anybody wants to shoot me an email at flatearthmath@gmail.com, I'll be happy to chat with you. We don't have to chat for an hour. If you want to chat for 5 minutes or whatever, if you want to discuss, whatever's on your mind. The only thing that I really would like to avoid is a bunch of Globers getting together and complaining about flat earthers. That's absolutely what I do not want to have on the show. So, but yeah, I mean, if you want to talk topics, you want to talk strategies, you want to talk about experiences, you're welcome to shoot me an email. Hillel Finder, and we got Cinnamon Control. Hey, Rob, how come? I mean, I think you guys must be very skillful. I was looking at this video of a high-speed chase, and guy had been doing some carjacking, and he was shooting at the police, and he was driving. And I don't know how you guys drive on the wrong side of the road like that. I would think it would take all of your concentration. So you'll have to explain that. Team Skeptic, and you, sir, are a content producer. Ding. And so yes, Hello Finder. So if you would like to get in, again, I'm not going to make the link like live. So if you just shoot me an email. Okay, Rob drives very carefully. Okay. So yeah, we've had an interesting couple of guests. The rule is I want to be civil, but then a couple folks, the debate sort of continues into the comment section, and then sometimes the comment section get a little wild and crazy. But it's it's all good. And Astro Rex. Yeah, actually, the thing is, people are always really quick to go with the lying. I mean, that's something that bothers me about Globers. Of course, it bothers me about flat earthers, but I mean, I think there's a reason for their behavior because they believe the world is against them. But we Globers, we don't believe the world is against us. So I don't understand the sort of conspiracy mindedness that, it's like somebody's doing a certain thing. That means they must be lying. And I don't mean to make fun, Astro Rex, but like people complain about Mr. Thrive and Survive, and he says that he served in the Navy. Well, I was looking at some, I guess it was the live, it was the comments along a live stream, and they were like, oh, I think it's someone needs to call him out on that, blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing you know, somebody's talking about, stolen valor is a real thing. And well, what you guys don't know is that offline, I've had many exchanges with Mr. Thrive and Survive, never about flat Earth, only about military service, and told me all about how he went through training to be a meteorologist and how he worked on the USS Forrestal, and then at some point he had to, I guess they kind of rotate shifts or something, and at some point he was working on fueling because it's an aircraft carrier. So I chime in because I was a refueler with the military, and I was like, oh, so you were a grape, and it's like we were able to talk about, I mean, not shared experiences because, he was in the Navy and I was in the Marine Corps, but it's like, okay, so fuel, refueling aircraft, that's something we both had in common. But people are so quick to like, he doesn't know what the shape of the Earth is. Therefore, he's lying about serving in the Navy. And it's like, like if you have no evidence that he didn't serve in the Navy, it'd be one thing if to have a document that says, he was brought up charges of, falsifying whatever records. But like, if you're just going to speculate that he doesn't know the shape of the earth, therefore he couldn't have been in the Navy, therefore, stolen valor. I would love for us to shy away from that stuff. Let me scroll back. Yeah, and Team Skeptic, you were a Navy man. Thank you very much for your service. Yeah, and then there's a guy who's on your show. I guess there was a military roundtable. So Team Skeptic, and then there's this other guy. I forget his name. He's got a military insignia. I think it's a naval rank insignia. Yeah, veteran panel. Well, see, the problem. I appreciate the invitation, and I may take you up on it. The thing is, I wasn't exactly a chairborne ranger, but I served in peacetime and I served in the reserves. So I did some great summer camp work. But it was, the United States was at peace. I mean, we did have the first Gulf War, which was a 3-day ground engagement. So that doesn't really count. And my unit was put on alert status. And so I was all ready to go, but my unit did not get called up. So I feel kind of bad, like, if there's like genuine veterans and here it is, like I trained for 10 years, so but I appreciate the invitation, Team Skeptic. Yeah, NASA's been lying about the Earth's shape. The reason why NASA's been lying about the Earth's shape is because they make $57 million a day or something like that. So it's all about the money, right? Oh, thank you, Team Skeptic. I appreciate that. Yeah, AstroX. The thing is, I think subconsciously these guys know it's a globe, but I've been debating these guys for going on 10 years, and I'm pretty sure they're sincere. And Joe Kovac said that. I think many flat earthers are completely sincere, and the thing is, they argue with such passion, and and sometimes the passion bleeds over into insult and all this ad hominem stuff. But I'm pretty sure that 99% of people who present as a flat earther are genuine believers in the flat Earth, and I believe that a lot of it is subconscious. That they that if they come up if they tread too close to and Sean Carroll just sent me an email, and hopefully this works. Alrighty, link sent, Sean. Thank you. So this is my armchair psychologizing, because I don't have any training other than like a 100 level course in psychology 30 years ago. But my armchair psychologizing is that when a flat Earth, a true flat Earth believer comes up against a piece of evidence that he thinks might reveal the whole thing, meaning like the flat Earth will just crumble, he'll realize it's a globe. When he gets dangerously close to that piece of evidence, I believe that they're I call it the cognitive dissonance barrier. I'm not calling it cognitive dissonance. And welcome, Sean. I'm going to introduce you in a moment, but let me just finish my thought. So, and again, at some point I'm going to have to research this. But I think the term cognitive dissonance is thrown around, really freely. And I don't think anyone's suffering from cognitive dissonance. What I think is happening is preventing cognitive dissonance. And that's my big thesis, is that people defend against the possibility of cognitive dissonance. And again, this is just me talking with no experience, with no research, that if a flat earther, a true believer in flat Earth, starts getting close to a piece of evidence that will cause cognitive dissonance, that's when the walls go up, and that's when all the armor comes out, all the weaponry come out, and that's actually when you can see a personality change. Somebody who's all affable and hokey dokey, and then all of a sudden they're like raging and frothing, and you can see the personality shift, and that's happened to me many times. And so I've always wondered why that was, and always seemed to be like, well, I just was about to drop this truth bomb on the guy. But all right, so we've got Sean Carroll has joined us. Welcome, Sean. I believe this is the first time we've spoken. And Are you off? You got a mic? I guess you're unmuting. Can't quite hear you yet. All right, so maybe you're having mic problems, possibly. And feel free to put something in the side chat or whatever. You're green on my end. All right, so while Sean figures out, looks like a microphone issue, possibly. Yeah, I'm not hearing anything. But anyway, I like I said, the cognitive dissonance gets thrown around a lot, but I don't think anybody actually is suffering from it. But I do believe that there is a defense mechanism, because I've seen some really. Oh, I'm hearing some clicks. I just heard some clicks just now, so I don't know if that was you adjusting a setting. And we've got Knowledge Scavenger in the chat. Welcome, Paula. Always good to see you. NASA's keeping him muted. Okay, Hillel Finder. Yes. So I've got this this crazy Blue Yeti microphone that, if a mosquito sneezes in the other room, the thing picks it up clear as a bell. And so if you hear something in the background, that's the timer that is driving one of these appliance timers. It's one of these 24-hour appliance timers. So I'm right now in my basement, and hey, Team Skeptic, you're welcome. You're welcome to come in right away. This is not it's not a planned show. So if we have a panel, that's fine. The only thing I'm just going to ask is that we don't just bust on flat earthers. If we want to talk topics, talk strategy, but not. Okay, Sean.
Moose 1, 2.
Yeah, Sean, we hear you. 5 by 5. Yeah. All right, you there?
Moose 1, 2, 3, 4.
5, 6, 7, 8.
All right.
Okay, you good?
Roger that.
Okay. All right, Sean. Sean, please introduce yourself and tell us what's on your mind.
Name is Sean. I tend to troll around the forums a little bit, and I usually stick around Wolfie's territory, which means I have a whole lot more fun. Challenges, especially the flight plan. That was among the best.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
However, my problem is dealing with certain kinds of people. I've been trying different tactics. Some of the more moderate ones, there's just meh. I try to say, okay, tell me more. Why do you think this? Unfortunately, some of them don't exactly respond well. Yeah.
Well, I mean, have you been listening to what I've been talking about as far as, my theories behind this stuff, that it's not entirely conscious, if you're talking to somebody with a true belief, the thing is, we as globe earthers, we don't know when we're talking to somebody, how internally committed they are. I would say that probably most of the flat earth video producers are fully committed, but there's lots of people who we engage in chat and engage in the comment section who may be, partially committed internally, or they might be fully, so it's like when we engage them, that, we may think, okay, we may get a nibble, we may get some purchase, but if the person is fully committed, no words from you in a comment are going to sway them, because, they know the truth, and the truth is the earth is flat. So you're just some glober commenter that they're just going to, spend some time with, Does that make sense? I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
It does make sense somewhat. I usually follow two different tactics when I'm dealing with a person I don't know. My first tactic will often be just list off your points and tell you where you might be right, where you might be wrong, where there might be some fudge factor, or if I spot a logical fallacy. That's when I kind of say, you're kind of going on the wrong track here. The second tactic involves just, the person sounds a little off. It's like, all right, why exactly? I'm seeing where you're going, but I don't understand what the exact detail you're coming from.
Yeah, I get that. And sometimes it's just a matter of trying to find the angle that will work. I'm not really meaning a pun there, but you know, find what, you know, what's going to kind of pique their interest. And then where you could actually have a conversation where you're talking about something that may lead this person into truth, you know? So I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I'm sending a link to PMARS. So PMARS, I'm only going to send you a link on the condition that that you play nice. Okay. So this isn't Nathan's show. Oh, rhetoric and discourse. Okay. Yeah. So this isn't Nathan's show, and so we're gonna play nice. So I don't know, Sean. I don't know if that, you know, if that makes sense. Like, you know, there's 1,000,001 reasons why we know the Earth is a globe, and you know, a lot of these things have been covered in flat Earth videos. Like a lot of our best reasons have been debunked. And welcome, Team Skeptic. So does that make sense, Sean? That like, you know, you may be coming up with a point, and well, he's already seen a debunked video of the point you're raising by a flat Earth.
I understand the point perfectly well. However, sometimes I like to point that out, that their debunk video might be biased in a way that's going to confirm their own bias.
Right.
I try to tell them, look, I need to see a cited paper.
Yeah. But, you know, a lot of these folks, they're not really into, like, that's just an appeal to authority for a lot of these folks. And sending a link to Lewis Hackett. This may be a full panel. So, and like, all right, welcome, PMARS. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good.
So yeah, the thing is, there's appeal to authority, you know. So a cited paper, well, okay, so it's peer reviewed by a bunch of Globers, you know. So is that really going to sway, you know, somebody? I mean, it might, if the person's on the fence, if the person's just sort of, you know, sending out feelers. But you know, part of the narrative is that mainstream science has been, you know, part of the conspiracy from day one. That mainstream science is the reason why we are hiding the truth of the flat Earth from humanity. And so citing a paper that was by mainstream science. Do you see what I mean? And welcome, Lewis Hackett.
I understand that point pretty well. My issue is when they ignore all the other points that say, yes, the paper is valid to use here.
Yeah. Yeah, but do you get my point about, like, what if they just reject the paper, like, just out of whole cloth, you know? It's a scientific paper, therefore suspect. I mean, like, we have a whole space agency. You know, we have a planet full of space agencies. Well, they just get rejected. So any evidence, you know, is just rejected from that. So I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting, you know, discussion as to how best approach trying to talk with, you know, with flat Earth folks. All right, Lewis.
Hello. I think there's one way that you could go about it. I mean, I've been quite unsuccessful with actually convincing anybody that thinks the Earth's flat that it's not. But I think a place to start might be just talking about what science actually is, because you'll get people bring up a fair amount that, oh, you've been brainwashed by education, you follow scientism, and they'll try and make this distinction between science and scientism and kind of claim that they have the real science. And I think it might be good to establish a common ground there of what science is and how we have arrived at the theories that we have today. I don't know, I was thinking somebody else would start talking, but I can elaborate on that.
I'm sorry, I was talking and my mic was muted.
Oh, okay.
and you completely missed how I summed up everything in that 42 words. No, you're exactly right. But when we talk about science,
I'm sorry.
There's somebody who's out there poisoning the well and giving everybody the wrong definition of science, the wrong definition of the scientific method, the wrong definition of even, like whenever he says stuff about cause and effect. I mean, I just cringe because I have a very strong statistics background. I mean, I've forgotten a lot of it, but in statistics, the words cause and effect are like, garlic to a vampire. You only are looking at correlation, and you have to be extraordinarily cautious when using the phrase, cause and effect. And so just because you have a dependent variable and an independent variable absolutely does not mean that you've established a cause and effect relationship. And so, with statistics, you have to be really, really careful about that. And welcome, Tim. Welcome, Hillel Finder.
Hello.
Hey, hello.
Hi.
So yeah, jump on in. We got a lively panel here. So yeah, just jump on in and then say add what you think to the conversation. And we're gonna keep it productive.
Quickly that the Earth is flat and wake up sheep tards. Yeah, that's about it. That's about all I had. Actually, I'll think of something else.
Thank you for imparting that wisdom upon us. But we're trying to keep the lie. The purpose of this panel is to strategize on how to keep the lie going. So yeah, your truth bombs are not welcome here. But seriously, the thing is, like, and my approach, and a lot of people don't agree with me, but my approach is like, can we use civil means to have a conversation with people who genuinely believe, or I should say disbelieve in something that is an objective truth? So we're not talking about political candidates. We're not talking about a philosophy where you could agree one way or the other. We're not talking about religion. We are talking about an objective truth, the actual shape of the earth, and how can we help? How can we help these folks? What's an approach that can work? And Lewis said you've been very unsuccessful. Yes, so have I. But I could tell that I'm putting out feelers, and I've only had one person actually acknowledge that I turned him around, and in 10 years of trying. So
there was
something.
Yeah.
There was one person that I talked to. His name was Alex, I believe. And he didn't say that I personally convinced him, but he did say that my attitude and demeanor, my cadence, did motivate him to go look at things more thoroughly, because I was basically shaming everybody that I talked to for being stupid. And so oddly enough, I have a data point. What about my sound?
No, you're good.
You're
okay.
Fine.
I thought he said something about sound. So I have a data point that shaming people actually does, to a certain extent, work, at least with flat earthers. But I haven't had much success with it elsewhere, and I haven't tried any other tactics. But it is interesting debating with them about their epistemic foundations. How do they know things to be true in the first place? And as soon as you start to pick that apart, it's almost as an explosive exchange as to just talking about the shape of the earth.
And you say explosive. Do you mean that the person, like you clearly trigger them? Is that what you mean by explosive? Yeah. And so that's what I've witnessed as well. And I'm calling that the cognitive dissonance boundary. And again, that's just my made up term, but it's like, you're having a productive conversation with somebody, but at some point you get too close to letting the other guy know the truth, and what he believes in is false. And he's going to defend against that. And that's when the explosion happens. So, but as far as the shaming goes, you guys all know my approach is to, just be a nice person most of the time. I mean, I can get a little snarky, You know, my buttons can be pushed. But you know, like the thing is, I've been a high school teacher. I've been teaching math in the great city of Philadelphia, and it's like I've been teaching inner city kids who could give a crap about math. You know, mostly Black and Hispanic students for 22 years, and I know for a fact that like if you're all up in someone's face, you know, they're listening to 0% of what you say. So that's just my approach. It's just like, I mean, even if the yelling is deserved and it's just it's not going to help communicate. It's going to make me feel better, get something off my chest. But that person, you know, they've got the earplugs in. They'll just see your lips moving, and it's like, well, how productive is that? So
many times though, shame is a good kind of mental deterrent for them. I think it takes, you know, it's a village, obviously, so it takes different tacks by different people. You're not going to pull that. What I'm pretty much known for, what Skeptic does and what Lewis does at times. You're just never going to pull that. But you know, sometimes they do need to basically have their back against the wall so that they can do hard, you know, at least try harder to prove whatever they think that's the truth. I think it helps them.
The thing is, though, I think that shame outright, just, you know, saying, "Oh, you're a flat earther," you know, sort of therefore you're stupid. You believe all these stupid things about the Earth being flat and etc. I think that is that kind of exact approach. I'm not saying that's any of you guys' approach, but I just think that
Skeptic,
itself is
he
nuts.
calls people fucking idiots about 100 times in a row.
Yes. See, the problem, they've scientifically trained the shame out of people, and to the point where, like, if you try to shame someone, you're called a fat shamer or something like that, or you're a shamer, and it's bad to shame people. But I think that's really fucked up, and it's leading to a bunch of weakness in our society.
I just think it's not productive, because I mean, basically to flat earthers in particular, that's reaffirmation. They think, okay, I'm being shamed, therefore I must, you know, I'm going against the narrative. I must be on the right track.
Right. It's like it's a badge of honor.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
Yeah.
You know, once you've actually gotten them into a sort of corner, or if that part isn't necessary, but at the very least shown them or certain ideas to be wrong, then a certain amount of shame, or as flat earth method put it, snark, would be warranted. But I think just outright, just you're a flat earther, you know, shame on you sort of thing. I don't think that's productive.
Right.
Okay, I'm not sure anyone actually has that.
Before you jump in, can I just tell everybody on the panel, like, I'm going to try to keep the show clean. So if we can try to avoid the salty language, just make it an effort. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'd like to say, like, if you look at our pop culture, our stars, like such as Snooki or something, they basically made it cool to be an idiot at this point.
Yes.
So there's no shame in being an idiot at that, you know, and people, it probably would be better if people felt a little bit of shame for saying stupid things.
But yeah, see, I don't think they're idiots for their beliefs. I think they're idiots because they're pushing their beliefs. They're pushing completely non-factual information. They're pushing they're disingenuous to the people that have come before them that dedicated their lives to science. You know, while these people that are running around saying flat earth this, flat earth that, and they're doing all this really like interesting in the streets, you know, signs in the air. There's a guy that's stuck in a laboratory that has no time for that. And you know what he's doing?
Yeah, I don't think you take on the nuances at all. I think it's kind of an overgeneralization, as I think I hear from your videos a lot. But that being said, you know, they're all individuals, and I mean, a lot of it really does ride. The thing that they have in common is that really, I've seen it for 3.5 years. It's the conspiratorial bias, it's the cognitive bias, and the continuous affirmation from the people that continue to perpetuate this lie. So, I mean, to the first person saying before about, you know, what if he doesn't think it's a good idea to do this, you know, call people idiots and stuff. Well, I don't think anybody really besides Skeptic on this panel does that. I've tried everything, truthfully. And it's just interesting to sit back and kind of watch the psychology and the sociology of the situation, as much as it is trying to tell people that they're wrong, they're being lied to.
Well, that I like what you said there. It's interesting to hear about. When I used to interact on live panels, I don't really do that anymore, but like on Nathan Oakley's show, or I've been on Dell's a couple times, a few other shows. I didn't really restrain myself from calling people idiots and making fun of them when they said stupid things. I always gave them the opportunity to do that. And I think so. When somebody, like, to bring in something Flat Earth Math you said earlier, is you want to have a good back and forth, and if you're just in each other's faces, well, that doesn't really get anything done. They're going to be withdrawn and not really listen to anything you say anyway. But that is my experience even when I'm not being aggressive, and that's why I like to give them that opportunity to say something stupid and to demonstrate that they haven't listened to anything I said. And from there, because it's in front of an audience, see, if it's just a one-on-one, I'm not just going to be a dick to somebody just to be a dick to them. But when it's in front of an audience where there are people watching, I think they deserve to be shamed.
Well, I think, people like Nathan and Anthony do, because they're playing a game. This isn't about pursuit of knowledge or any kind of epistemic truths. It's about basically triggering people on our side, and that they make a show out of it, and Flat Earthers love it because they love what Nathan does to them, mutes them, blocks them. I mean, does anything he can to just continue the Flat Earth narrative that he has.
Yeah, one comment that I received recently said something about still waiting for you to go on and debate Nathan Oakley. That's his name, right? Nathan Oakley?
Yeah,
that's his name.
Yeah. I'm still kind of new to this, guys. So they were like, you need to go on and debate him. And I was like, dude, I've seen his debates. It's not a debate. He has all the control in the world. And what he does is anytime that he's losing or anytime someone's speaking when he wants to speak, he'll mute them. If they unmute themselves, he'll boot them immediately. And that's not what I'm there for. I'm not there to say, hey, look, Nathan Oakley made Team Skeptic look like a chump. No, he can come on mine. I'll have a civil discussion with him. I won't even boot him, but I'm not about to go on his and get booted for just proving him wrong.
Me and Tim Osman debated Nathan and someone else for like 2 hours, and we basically got Nathan to admit that his criteria for evidence that he would accept would be he'd have to be shot up in a rocket personally to witness the shape of the earth firsthand, else all other forms of observation or evidence he won't take into account.
Yeah, I find that pretty common in that community, and this goes along with something that they were talking about earlier, that Flat Earth Math and I believe Sean were talking about how you can explain experiments to them. You can show them the data that was done. You can show the competing agencies that have tried to disprove the experiment and couldn't. And it's always still going to come down to personal experience with them. They're going to say, but you know what? Did you do it? No. Well, then do it. Well, the machinery costs, $150,000 and I don't have access to all that. What do you mean do it? There's other people that, so you're just going to accept their results. Well, they've got a lot of other people that have already confirmed these results. You have other people that have done the experiment. Oh, well, they're just all going with the presupposition that the experiment works, and it's just like, what is the proof that you want? When Nathan Oakley asked for R, here's the only proof he'll accept. Has somebody drilled a hole to the center of the earth and measured it with a measuring tape? 1 meter at a time.
Well, come on. We don't use meters. This is America.
Unfortunately, the only people who make measuring tapes that long are Freemasons. So
he brought up that R stuff with me, and I countered by saying, well, these people that are going long distances on their ships and they're navigating, they're basing their calculations off that R value, and they're arriving at their distances. So it doesn't seem like it's incorrect, right?
I think of it being a drinking game, taking a drink every time he says R.
Right. I want to interrupt here. Milo Lugo has joined the panel, so if you want to jump in, say hello. Welcome.
Hey, hello, guys.
Hello.
I got wrecked by
Hi,
Nathan
Milo.
today. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I saw it.
Oh, you did? I must say congratulations.
I guess, yeah. Thank you.
One of the things I wanted to bring up is that yes, we know that it's completely unfair if you go over onto that show. You know you're going to be muted. You know you're going to be interrupted, and then at some point you may in fact be booted, and it really is like a coin toss whether you're booted or not. But so you know that going in, you know it's the gladiatorial ring, and so why do you go? Because somebody out there might be listening, and then you may actually. Drop a piece of evidence that might actually appeal to somebody. I happen to believe that a few people who are regulars on that show are fairly sincere, that they are investigating. They're investigating the world, but that they're sincere in their investigation. I mean, they believe the Earth is flat, but you might say something that might appeal to them.
There's something else I have noticed. Certain people do not like being told that they can be wrong.
They don't want to be wrong. They have so much invested in it. There's a lot emotionally that they have invested in it. So, they have their friends here, a lot of them, and they probably don't have much going on in their real life. So this is a big deal to them.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw. Oh,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw today, but Arwen told Nathan that he was wrong today.
Oh boy!
Wow, that was nice.
Actually, I think I might have caught that for a few minutes. Was that perspective? I mean, I say perspective-based thing that basically encompasses the entire show. But the thing where they're talking about all the wind turbines have the same height and looking down them.
Yeah.
Oh God! See, and that's another thing about this methods thing. For some particular flat earthers, I genuinely do not know how to get through to them about certain points or about how to demonstrate exactly how wrong they are about certain things. Like all this stuff Nathan et al. Have been going on about perspective now. I genuinely don't know how to best tackle that.
Just got to give them clear examples of perspective and show how it contradicts their idea.
One of the problems is that there's so many concepts that get confused. They're treated as synonymous, but they're not. In fact, they may in fact be opposites. So, for example, with perspective, we all know about like the railroad tracks going into the distance. Well, those lines, which are parallel in the real world, Nathan treats those as your viewing angle, and it's like or even lines of sight, and none of those lines are lines of sight. The only line of sight is where you can see in the orthographic view, drawing a dot starting at the guy's head and sort of going out there like you were a camera. But he seems to equate the two. And because he equates the two, that leads to a great deal of confusion.
Yeah, I think Nathan's a lost cause. I feel like
he's not trying to. You don't understand. You think that he might be in some kind of a real pursuit of knowledge. He's not. This is a total game for him and Riley.
No, he shuts it down every time. Even when Arwen tries to bring up a point or something, tries to concede something, he doesn't like that, Yeah, he always likes to shut it down. Like, no, don't go over there. Don't give him that. Whatever.
Yeah, to Nathan, it's all about pushing the flat Earth narrative.
It's like a glass menagerie that he's got going on.
Big word.
Tennessee Williams reference.
Yeah, I know that is reference.
It just means he's got a lot of very nice little pretty things, but they will shatter with any agitation. So,
right,
like his assumed R thing. This is why I always get into when I'm in like Jem's Discord, for example. I'll get into epistemic arguments with people about science and what it does and why it's so great. And you have to, and it really brings you back to like what for me when I was really young and I was thinking about, well, how do I know something to be true? Well, I know that I exist, and since I know that I exist, I can know that I can know things. So knowledge, that's become within grasp. And so from there, you can start making other assumptions about reality, and you try and make sure you make as few assumptions as possible. And eventually you get to this point where, okay, well, all I can do are make really basic assumptions, but I'm pretty sure there's a material world and things can be known about that. But I can't know those things to be certain in the same way that I can know my own existence to be certain. but I can know things about that world to be false. I can falsify things. And if I come up with enough ideas and prove enough of them false, I'll have some idea of what's actually happening. And that's all science is. And as long as you don't use the word science and some other trigger words, you can get flat earthers to acknowledge these same assumptions.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here and say that the reason why I always go on and talk about how scientific proof doesn't exist, and that's like a trigger for them, because they're like, oh, you can't prove the globe. And so I, it's like, okay, yeah, I can't scientifically prove the Earth is a globe because we could be living in a simulation, right? So yeah, I can't disprove that we're I can't prove that we're not in a simulation, right? Well, so then I go one step further and I say, well, even if we are in a simulation, we're in a heliocentric one.
Exactly. Even if it's a simulation, the simulation has a globe.
Proof? I just messed it up. Proof is for math and alcohol. Enough said.
Yeah, outstanding. Hey, can I interrupt? The time is 11:40. Now, the thing is, I've agreed to go for exactly 1 hour. So if we could just keep an eye on the time, we have 20 more minutes for our free discussion. And I also want to jump in with, what do you guys think about certain strategies? Like, for example, Sly Sparkane will seize upon an image, and then he will dissect it, like the taking a look at the Devonshire Dock Hall buildings from, I guess it was a Ranty photo, and then there were the blades of these wind turbine literally over the curvature of the Earth behind, so it's like he did the math and he sort of like dissected that, but then he made a quick video, like a 5-10 minute video. So what do you think about that kind of approach of dealing with sort of one nugget of information, one nugget of evidence?
There's too much. They gish gallop and they just there's too much.
It doesn't get to them,
So
goes right over their head.
I think when you arrive to the conclusion that the Earth is flat, it's not really based on evidence and observations. It's more of an emotive topic. Yeah. So I just think presenting evidence and observations is the wrong way to go. And I don't know. I try to come at them saying there's a bigger, grander conspiracy, and that flat Earth is a conspiracy within itself. I don't know. Because I've exposed like Mark Sargent, like he throws up free Masonic hand signs for one thing. I've got a video where it shows Antonio Subirats. He uses halo symbolism whenever he sits down. He positions himself, and that's like subliminal messaging, giving him like a Jesus Christ resonance, actually. So I don't know. I come at it with a conspiracy angle when I'm trying to talk to these people.
Right. I try to just get them to disagree with each other.
That's certainly one thing. But about Sly's thing, especially his thing from today, I thought it was good. I'm just disappointed it wasn't. I just feel like it wasn't enough. I just feel like he didn't go far enough to establish certain things. Like the wind turbine thing, I feel like it was way too easy for them to just say, oh, well, that's perspective doing that. The wind turbines, they're further away, so they're hiding behind the building because they're really shy. But I just feel like it just didn't go far enough to show and to try to anticipate those types of responses, because I mean, flat earthers, they always have their ad hoc explanations of refraction and perspective. So I just feel like countering those up front is good.
Hey, Flat Earth Math, can you kind of go into a little bit more detail of what you're talking about doing? Because I don't quite understand what you're asking an opinion about.
Okay,
like, are you talking about just doing a small portion of one person's video?
Well, what I was talking about, and I've started to do a little bit of this. I mean, my time is kind of tight because I've got these 4 little monsters, and as all you guys do a full-time job. But I've tried to make little videos that sort of kind of grab a nugget and then just sort of run with it. So, like for example, one I did was a John McIntyre photo where he had a water level set up in the mountains, and he was sighting along to a Santiago Peak like 40 miles away. And so I really, like, the whole video was just about dissecting that one observation. And I think one of those videos, it wasn't that Santiago Peak, but it was one about measuring the observer height at the beach. Really seriously triggered Nathan. That's when he started really attacking. But the idea that if we find like a photo that comes up on Nathan's show or wherever, and then just make a video just sort of analyzing that photo, and just sort of presenting your evidence. Because what I found is that they do over at the Nathan Oakley show is that they respond to the response. And it's like it forces them to up their game. You know, like the whole thing with that rock that Ailsa Craig, you know, that was a back and forth quite a bit, but it's like it really forced them to kind of sink their teeth into that. You know, of course they concluded the earth is flat, but it's like at least they had to work for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it does two things. I think it's good. It's a step-by-step process if we're actually trying to convince people, and we might not convince the people that we're actually talking to, but we will convince other people who are watching this happen, and they'll be thinking, okay, the flat earthers said this, because there are people in this who are genuinely interested in the nature of reality that they don't understand. I believe that anyway. And by people like Sly Sparkane or Team Skeptic making videos, it forces them to realize that, well, the Globers aren't running from this. There are other people out here who disagree with us just as strongly as we believe this, and they are talking about it as well. So it causes them, for that reason, it causes the people like Nathan to fear for their reputations, and they feel that they need, in order to maintain their presence, respond to this because they recognize that it directly attacks things that they have said.
Damn, I need a good Nathan Oakley video to do. I just don't want to sit through his 3 hour long live stream.
You should do his scientific method. You should do his scientific method. You should do his definition of science, because he thinks that basically it's the study of the natural world, as in like nothing man-made, nothing at all. Like,
but the Earth doesn't fall in that. Well, how is that relevant?
What's that?
But the Earth isn't a man-made thing, so how does that apply in the Earth kind of discussion thing?
He's wrongly basically attributing what natural science actually means. So man-made things he completely excludes. So you'd have to almost ask him, you know, when does a piece of lumber or a tree actually become, you know, unnatural science?
And
because it's been touched by man.
And one thing also is that he says that experimentation can only be done via what we would call a pure experiment, where you are physically manipulating an independent variable, and you can do scientific explorations using the scientific method, using scientific observation, like you said, of natural phenomena, like observing sun angles. You know, it's like you can have an independent variable, which is maybe your latitude, but you're not physically manipulating something like you would in a laboratory. So he just gets so much of that stuff wrong, and it all leads to the point that you can't either prove or disprove, you know, flat Earth and or the globe. So he ends up the winner. You know, it's a rigged game for him.
Absolutely.
Right. We should actually focus on talking to the panel as opposed to talking to Nathan when we're on. You know,
he won't. I'm never allowed back on. I'll never be allowed back on.
Yeah, he won't let you, and I don't think anybody should actually go on his show.
See, actually, maybe I want to know if this is other people, but for me, when I go on his show or any place to talk to a particular flat earther, I generally don't care that much about the audience. Usually, I'm genuinely trying to talk to the whoever it is, like the flat earther person. I don't much consider the audience. In fact, I usually prefer these discussions without an audience, because it takes away that kind of need to have some kind of flair and presentation and, you know, totally pwn your opponent. Rather, it's just more a genuine, you know, just talk to the other person kind of thing. Is that something else that you guys do, or is that just me?
Well, when I go on this panel, I try to get the N-word out as much as possible before I get banned, and I think if I can do it just enough times, people will believe the Earth is a sphere.
Okay, so let me ask.
That is airtight logic right there.
I'm looking at his channel right now here, looking for that video y'all said, and I found one that says "How the World Works" Part 1 of 3. Is that what you're talking about?
You know what? Actually, side note, really quickly. Have you done a video on quantum eraser by any chance?
No, he took all his videos down.
Oh,
no,
really?
No.
Yes,
Eraser took down his videos?
He erased all his videos?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter that Quantum Eraser took his videos down, because all I got to do is search for Science versus Scientism, because he had a big series with Cathexis, and he's also had a big series with Nathan.
Actually, he did that. He did that presentation, which for some reason he still has as a unsent email. For some reason, I don't know why he formatted it that way. But he did that on Nathan's show, and we reviewed it last week on SciStrike's channel. So it's somewhere on Nathan's thing. It's big scientism poster.
But yeah, I looked at Quantum Eraser's. I looked at his channel today. It had no videos on it, so I went back to when me and him were arguing in my comments, and I left him a reply. It was like 2 weeks ago, but I left a reply today. I was like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "Why'd you remove all your videos?" I was like, "I was looking for that one where you claimed to debunk, the de Broglie wavelength, and I was going to debunk that one. So will you please at least put that one back up so I can download it and debunk you?" He hadn't responded yet.
That's interesting.
But the real question is, gentlemen, how can you have air pressure without a container?
That is the question.
That is the biggest question.
Desert file.
Here's the 10-minute warning.
I'm thinking probably ether. I'm leaning towards ether.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact, like, it was already, if anybody saw the Non Sequitur show where Gem Panda and Reds were against Dell and his zebra icon.
Oof, indeed.
That's not Zebra Guy. I set that up, by the way. That's not Zebra Guy. That's Gav, who he talked to. Absolute numpty, dude.
Yeah.
Gav and Dell.
They gave him an explanation for that, and they said, well, do you acknowledge that there is a difference in pressure at the bottom of a mountain versus at the top?
Oh, man.
And obviously they're bringing that point to a close with, okay, well, just extrapolate that through the sky, okay? And they just...
Me and Jim have been on to Dell about that for a long time. His water flat thing, I mean, look at my image here. I show him this all the time. And finally, he actually blocked me today. But there's no converting people like Dell. He actually, there's different reasons for everybody. That's why I said there's individuals here. So in the case of Dell, he actually enjoys the attention that he gets, and it's kind of like a self reciprocal relationship with him in the chat. The chat need like an alpha male, and they're disenfranchised conspiratards basically. And so they find this alpha male guy, and he likes the attention, so they feed off of each other. And I mean, he's just pure rhetoric. And I'm surprised that he's actually called out Steve McRae, because personally, I wouldn't call out Steve McRae on pretty much any subject. Dell will get absolutely annihilated.
Steve doesn't exist.
True. True.
Quite possibly if we're living in a simulation.
He doesn't exist, but his magnificent beard does. I think we can all agree to that.
Hey, Flat Earth Math, have you ever really looked into simulation hypothesis?
No, it's one of the things that's on my to-do study list.
I've been looking into it for about a year.
Oh,
being a math person, oh my goodness, you would not believe the math that is involved in the proofs that are there for the simulation hypothesis. Of course, none of it can be tested yet.
It's compelling. It's compelling. And I've heard a couple of top scientists have said, like there actually is subtle evidence that we could be living in a simulation. But I had my own, what's it called? The Mandela effect. Oh my goodness. I thought I was going crazy. So can you give me 60 seconds to tell the story?
Yeah, tell it.
So my kids do. My kids have this summer school packet, which is like it's a little workbook and a couple of reading books, and then they had a little pack of colored pencils in a small square, like a vinyl, one of those vinyl things with a flap, and so it had like 10 colors. Okay, and so I was getting the kids ready. Jeannie had said, hey, why don't you have the boys work on a couple pages of their math workbook? So I, got Mars's stuff down. And I opened up the colored pencils, and it had a little piece of adhesive, and I folded the adhesive over so that it would just be the vinyl flap, handed him the colored pencils and whatever. And then I did the same thing with, that was Mars, and I did the same thing with Orion's. But when I was folding over the adhesive flap, it got kind of crinkled a little bit. So it's like it didn't stick all the way. It was a little wrinkle in the adhesive. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But, it's like all these details. It was vinyl, a vinyl pouch, the little adhesive flap. So they come back 2 hours later, and they're like, we're all done, didn't take them 2 hours, but I mean, like, it's like cleanup time kind of thing. And so they start bringing me back their supplies. I put it back in the bag. And they give me their colored pencils, and it was in a rectangular, or, it was in a little square pouch made of a different kind of plastic with a rectangular fold, not a semicircular fold. And there was no little piece of adhesive. And both kids had the same exact pouch of colored pencils. And I'm like, I have an extreme, and I was talking to my wife. I was like, Jeannie, this is really upsetting me. I mean, I was really dead set upset because like, this was not what I remember. I have a very specific memory of this. And it really bugged me. It bugged me for a whole day. And finally I went in the other room and I found the pouches. I found the vinyl pouches. And it turns out it was a plastic pouch inside of a plastic pouch. And I was remembering the vinyl, and they had thrown that, into the other room. And it was just like, it was like, thank goodness I am now sane, because I was seriously questioning my sanity.
Well, my
I was ready with the dun dun dun.
My belief in the simulation hypothesis is doesn't have a any possibility for a Mandela effect. It actually has. When you think of something like when science is presenting this as a hypothesis, that means that they actually have they've designed a theory behind it, but now they have to be able to test it and prove it to be right and wrong. You have to be able to prove it wrong, so they can't do that right now. So it's untestable. So it's going to be a hypothesis until somebody tests it, but it has to take into account everything that we understand about everything in the universe. Okay. So one of the things we understand in the universe is quantum mechanics, and we have all these different interpretations of how quantum mechanics works. So you have to find something that gives validity to those interpretations for them to have a reason to believe it works. It may not work that way, but you have to be able to show that it works that way. One of them is the many worlds interpretation. So I believe that we're in a simulation, that there is a copy of us running who knows how many other times, and it's all running concurrent, and it's running to find an end goal to some kind of future question that somebody has. This might be a simple question. We might be doing this infinite number of times on infinite number of computers with people asking just simple questions, and the computer simulating us through all these different times, but it has to also take into account the integrity of the world that was before. So in that case, it has to be able to share information across the different simulations. The simulator has to be able to share the information. So that's why when they talk about the many worlds interpretation and the Copenhagen interpretation and all these the pilot wave interpretation, all these different interpretations, because those are built off of observational reality and mathematical proofs. So when you think about what a simulator is, it's all math. It's all programming. So if you can prove it mathematically, then there's a good chance that it's probably part of the simulation.
Jesus.
You just exposed yourself.
That's a scary thought. That's a really scary thought. All right. It's 11:57. It's 11:57. If anybody who hasn't done a whole lot of talking wants to get in and say their piece, but one by one, you guys can excuse yourself, and then we're going to try to close out close to in about 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay, I think we should keep reminding people that Nathan drinks piss.
Does he really?
Yeah, he does.
He's
for God's sake.
Oh God. Now I really got to do a video on him.
I second that. Second the motion. And third it.
That invalidates everything. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Later.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So there's some things that once you know, you just can't unknow.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh God.
All right, well, I guess I'll say my goodbyes because I'll be short and sweet. Thank you everybody for being on liking my videos and subscribing to my channel. I'm sure there's a few subscribers out there, so I'm talking to you guys. Thank everybody on this panel that's a subscriber and watches my videos. And I didn't know you made videos, Lewis. I need to get on and check your content out, man.
They're not good, but thank you. And I've deleted most of them. There's sort of a ironic sadomasochism in everything I do, so it doesn't really appeal to anybody.
Hey, somebody out there likes it, I'm sure. But Flat Earth Matt, thank you, man, for having me on, and I'm sure I'll be running into you in the future, man.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, man. I'm out of here, guys.
Bye.
It always amazes me to see the kind of rational materialist turn into some kind of a sim porridge matrix monkey that believes that he's in some kind of a simulation with concurrent simulations going on. I think this idea actually probably has less validity than the flat Earth. So I find it interesting that they kind of go into this kind of string theory, into all of these simulation kind of theories. Not to say that, philosophically you can debunk it, probably not, but when you have the mentality that math provides proof when it's empirically validated through various means, really anything is possible. So my name is Timmy Osman. I think most of you know me. And yeah, I have a channel where I don't do much, but kind of make fun of the issue on the internet as much as the people within it. So it's a very silly internet meme that probably was purported and perpetrated by people like Eric Dubay, Mark Sargent, Cow Patty Steer, who are probably involved in something more than they're actually leading on. So anywho, this has been Timothy Osman. Thanks for having me on, and I will see you some other time, Charles.
Thanks, Tim. Take care.
My name's Lewis Hackett. Everyone out there who thinks the Earth is flat, stay strong, have faith in your fellow humans, and keep trying.
Thank you, Lewis.
Well, I might as well. Flat Earth Math, it has been nice to talk to you again. You my favorite flat Earth, globe Earth person troll. I didn't get to say this earlier, but I am a big fan of your particular method of showing the flat Earth and the globe Earth predictions, and then encouraging people to go out and make those observations themselves. I really, really do like that method. I think it has really strong potential. So
I appreciate that. I still need to get back and finish flat Earth experiments.
Yes, and if you ever, not that you ever will, but if you ever need help with that or anything like it, I'd be more than happy. I absolutely love the method.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, goodbye. It's been a pleasure.
Good night.
Night.
All right, Sean.
All right. So subscribe to Flat Earth Math, Wolfie, Team Skeptic, Non-Sec Show. And the answer is always 42.
That's outstanding. Good Douglas Adams quote. All righty. Thank you so very, very much for all the people in the chat and for all the people on the panel. This is a really interesting episode, a nice conversation. And again, we just have to keep in mind, flat Earth or globe Earth, these folks are real people. They put their pants on one leg at a time, and they've got, emotions and beliefs. And so I just want us to respect our fellow man and try to steer people towards the truth. So I really appreciate the respect. I appreciate the civility. Thank you, everybody, again. And this has been Flat Earth Math, otherwise known as Charles. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.